You might recall the story Jungle Book, where the main character is the boy or man-cub Mowgli, who was raised in the jungle by wolves. Or you might recall the fictional character Tarzan of the Apes, a feral child who was raised in the jungle by great apes. But did you know that there are real stories of this happening? Join us as we take a look at 10 people raised by animals. John Sabunya. After a family dispute, a terrified and fearful John escaped into the jungle and was lost. His disappearance was forgotten, but 3 years later, a woman from a nearby tribe, while searching for some food in the jungle, encountered John, who at the time would be 5 years old. Immediately, she returned to the village to inform the rest of the tribe, and several members of the tribe returned to the spot where John was found. What they found was a reluctant child and a whole family of monkeys fighting and throwing sticks and stones at members of the tribe to prevent the child to be taken from them. John claims that when he went to the forest, the monkeys would bring him food, and they were affectionate and would care for him. For the next 8 months to a year, John lived with the monkeys. He vaguely remembers the first monkeys coming up to him after a few days and offering him roots and nuts, sweet potatoes, and cassava. They were wary at first, but after he posed no threat, they befriended him within about 2 weeks and taught him, he says, to travel with them, to search for food, and to climb trees. Ivan Mishakov. Also known as Moscow's dog boy, Ivan Mishakov was born in 1992, shortly after the Soviet Union collapsed. The newly independent Russia found itself struggling to pick up the pieces with a nearly bankrupt economy and a severe drop in living standards. It was into these trying times that Ivan Mishakov was born. With an ill-prepared mother and an alcoholic father at home, Ivan, who was just 4 years old at the time, ran away and ended up on the cold streets of Moscow like so many other children. But all was not lost, because it was here that he found himself a new, more loving family, a pack of stray dogs. Like most of the children who found themselves on the street, Ivan begged for scraps from passers-by to survive. But Ivan always shared whatever he got with one particular pack of dogs. It was an act of kindness that didn't go wasted on the animals, as they soon took a liking to the little boy and adopted him as one of their own. This was how Ivan would spend the next 2 years on the streets. He would beg for food during the day to share with his pack, while they in turn made him pack leader and kept him safe. Apart from having fleas and lice, Ivan was in surprisingly good health when he was brought in, a testament to the great care his canine family provided. Sujit Kumar. Sujit's parents wanted to get rid of the dysfunction, even though they themselves were heavily dysfunctional. So they put him out into a chicken pen to live with the chickens, and as a result, he became very much like the chickens he was forced to live with. However, the worst part is what local authorities did next. By age 8, Sujit was too big to stay with the chickens. His parents had died, so local authorities did the only thing they could think of. For 22 long years, Sujit was tethered by sheets strung together and fastened to a wall. He was rescued and cared for by an Elizabeth Clayton. She says that when she first met Kumar, he pecked at his food and would crouch down as if roosting. His fingers turned inward from scratching around in the dirt. He communicates by making a rapid clicking noise with his tongue, and he seems detached from much that goes on around him. Bird Boy. In 2008, Russian care workers discovered a boy who could only communicate by chirping like a bird and flapping his arms as if they were wings. The neglected child was found living in a tiny 2-room apartment surrounded by cages containing dozens of birds, bird feed, and droppings. The social worker who rescued the boy said that he was treated like another pet by his 31-year-old mother who never spoke to him. Russian authorities say the child was not physically harmed but is suffering from Mowgli syndrome, named after the Jungle Book character raised by wild animals, and cannot engage in any normal human communication. He just chirps, and when realizing that he is not understood, starts to wave hands in the way birds winnow wings. Oksana Malaya. For 5 years, Oksana Malaya lived with dogs and survived on raw meat and scraps. When she was found, she was running around on all fours barking. And just like a dog, she bounds along on all fours through long grass, panting towards water with her tongue hanging out. When she reaches the tap, she paws at the ground with her forefeet, drinks noisily with her jaws wide, and lets the water cascade over her head. Oksana is a feral child, one of only about 100 known in the world. The story goes that when she was 3, her indifferent alcoholic parents left her outside one night, and she crawled into a hovel where they kept dogs. No one came to look for her or even seemed to notice she was gone. So she stayed there where there was warmth and food, raw meat and scraps, forgetting what it was to be human, losing what toddler's language she had, and learning to survive as a member of the pack. A shameful 5 years later, a neighbor reported a child living with animals. When she was found at the age of 8 in 1991, Oksana could hardly speak and ran around on all fours barking. Kamala and Amala, the wolf girls of Midnapur. There is a story about two girls who were raised by a she-wolf. As the story goes, in 1920, Reverend J.A.L. Singh saw a mother wolf and her wolf cubs. Two of the cubs had long matted hair and looked human. This startled the Reverend, who made preparations to capture the two strange-looking wolf cubs that seemed almost human. After they were captured, they turned out to be two girls, one 8 years old and the other 1.5 years old. The children walked on all fours and had calluses on their knees and palms. They loved to eat raw meat and consumed all liquids with their tongues like a dog and ate in a crouched position. Their tongues permanently hung out of their mouths and they panted just like wolves. Shortly after they were found, the younger child died, but Kamala would end up staying in the orphanage until she also died unexpectedly in November 1929. Marina Chapman. Shortly before her 5th birthday, Marina recalls playing in her family's garden. She says she became aware of two adults behind her, and before she knew it, she was taken away, with sounds of crying children being her last memory before she blacked out. The next thing she knew, she was being driven deep into the Colombian rainforest, where she was then dumped and abandoned. It soon became clear to Marina that no one was coming for her, and that finding some sort of sanctuary was absolutely crucial to her survival. After countless hours of wandering in the treacherous jungle terrain, Marina stumbled upon a group of small monkeys. However, it was clear the monkeys had no interest in the stray human. Marina recalls the moment when things changed between her and the group of primates. After becoming severely ill from tamarind food poisoning, Marina says that one of the elderly monkeys, whom she now calls Grandpa, guided her to muddy water. Marina drank the water, vomited, and eventually recovered. Marina explains that if it weren't for the monkeys, which are thought to be capuchins, she most likely wouldn't have survived. Capuchins are known to be well-cultured toward humans, so it makes sense that they would eventually accept Marina into their territory. Rochum Pyingyang, Cambodian jungle girl. Rochum Pyingyang first disappeared into a thick hilly jungle in 1989 when she was a little girl while herding water buffalo with her sister in the province of Ratanakiri, 400 miles northeast of Phnom Penh. Her sister has never been found, but Rochum emerged from the jungle filthy, naked, scared, and looking like a monkey in February 2007. She was caught stealing food from a farmer's lunchbox after a stakeout. Locals reported sightings of her with a naked man carrying a sword, who they believed to be a jungle spirit. Her parents, who had long given up hope of seeing their daughters again, identified her from a scar on her arm and welcomed her back into the family. The Syrian Gazelle Boy. In 1946, a boy around age 10 was found in the midst of a herd of gazelles in the Syrian desert and was originally caught with the help of an Iraqi army jeep because he could run at speeds of up to 50 miles an hour. While that might not be entirely true, the boy was terribly thin, and he was said to have been extremely fit and strong with muscles of steel. He was captured and bound hand and foot. There is not much else known about the boy. However, the Life magazine story of September 9, 1946 agrees pretty much with the other reports. It states that the previous month a group of hunters found a boy running wild with a herd of gazelles in the Syrian steppes. About 10 to 14 years old at the time of discovery, he was believed to have been abandoned as a baby. He was taken to an asylum for the insane. Shamdeo. Shamdeo was a boy who was found in a forest in India in 1972. He was estimated to be about 4 years old. When he was found, he was playing with wolf cubs. His skin was very dark and he had sharpened teeth, long hooked fingernails, matted hair, and calluses on his palms, elbows, and knees. He was fond of chicken hunting, would eat earth, and had a craving for blood. He bonded with dogs. He never spoke but learned some sign language and died in 1985.